In this video, we will be explaining all of Deku's quirks in My Hero Academia. We will start from his first quirk, and later on in this video, we will explain all of his more mysterious quirks. One for All is the popular quirk that we've seen Izuku Midoriya use throughout the series. Toshinori Yagi, also known as All Might, was the previous wielder of this power, and he is the one who transferred the quirk to Deku. The One for All quirk is a very powerful quirk, and it was formed when our antagonist, All for One, transferred a quirk to his younger brother named Yoichi. All for One's power allowed him to steal other people's quirks and transfer it to others, and he thought his brother was quirkless, so he wanted him to feel a little bit of power. Well, as fate would have it, Yoichi did have a quirk, even though everyone was oblivious to this fact. Yoichi's quirk was the power of transference, meaning that it could be transferred to any other person. This transference quirk ended up merging with the stockpiling quirk that Yoichi received from All for One, and it resulted in the quirk we know today as One for All. As a power, One for All is useful for melee and long-range fighting, and it is way stronger now than it was decades ago, because the several people who have wielded it ensured that it got stronger and stronger in their quest to defeat All for One. One for All gives Deku immeasurable strength, and we see him perform several strength feats even while using just a small percentage of this power. The first quirk that Izuku Midoriya was able to unlock is known as Black Whip. This was originally the quirk of Daigoro Banjo, who was the 5th user of One for All. This power is just as the name suggests. It allows Deku to create black whips that are a bit green in color. Deku is able to bring out these whips from any part of his body, and he is also able to direct the whips as he likes. Black Whip doesn't seem to be formed from any material, as it looks like an energy formation, and it also is powered by emotions. When Deku first produces this power, he is unable to control it, and it only occurs when he is very angry and loses control. It has been shown that the stronger the anger, the more powerful Black Whip will be. Black Whip is quite useful in capturing and restraining opponents, and this was shown when he restrained Tomura Shigaraki. The quirk also gives him an added level of mobility, as he is able to grab onto objects and propel himself. An unlikely use of this power that we've seen in the series is Deku using Black Whip to reinforce his skeleton inside his body. This helps to reduce his damage and increase his durability. After Black Whip, the next quirk that Midoriya used is Float. This is a simple technique that, just like the previous one, can be explained by the name. Float initially belonged to Nana Shimura. She was the 7th user of One for All, and apart from that, she was All Might's teacher and mentor. Deku unlocked this quirk while he was fighting against Tomura Shigaraki, as he tried to save his friends from the decay technique wielded by our favorite villain. With this technique, he can literally float. Deku is able to hover in midair, and not just that, he is able to take control of all his movements in the air. At this point, let's just say that our boy can fly. Combining this technique with All for One, he can fly insane speeds, even matching All Might's top speed, and he is able to maneuver so well that it's like he's using the ODM gear from Attack on Titan. Moving to the next quirk, this one has a hardcore name, and it's called Danger Sense. The original quirk of 𝐏𝐫𝐨𝐝𝐿, the 4th user of One for All, and the person who can be credited with making the One for All quirk as strong as it has become today. 𝐏𝐫𝐶⁴ secluded himself from the public, choosing not to fight All for One, as he dedicated his life to strengthening the One for All quirk. It was through his life that All Might realized that only quirkless people were a fit for One for All, because any One for All wielder with a previous quirk will end up having side effects that shorten their lifespan. Now, over to Danger Sense. Just like Kurama's ability to sense negative emotions in Naruto, with the Danger Sense quirk, Izuku Midoriya can now sense negative emotions too. This quirk warns him of threats in his immediate environment. However, it is not so reliable against non-human threats. Up next is Smokescreen. Personally, I feel this quirk has the coolest name out of all of Midoriya's powers. Smokescreen is the quirk possessed by the 6th wielder of One for All, known as N. While little is known about N, we know that All for One tried and failed to steal the One for All power from N. Just like the name implies, Smokescreen is a sneaky technique used to provide a distraction. When it is activated, Deku is able to produce dark smoke from his body, which can even be as thick as fog. While using this technique, Deku is not immune to its effects, so it is something that he has to use wisely. Smokescreen can be said to be the least offensive quirk in One for All's arsenal. However, it is a quirk that can be quite useful and can be a lifesaver in times of danger. Fajin is the next quirk that Izuku Midoriya has unlocked, and it belonged to the 3rd user of One for All, a man whose name has not yet been revealed. What we do know about this 3rd user is that he was a part of the resistance fight against All for One, and that he was also involved in Yoichi's rescue. Simply put, 𝐏𝐫𝐨𝐼𝐻 is a very handy quirk that allows Deku to not just charge up, but also store energy inside his body. He also has the freedom to release this kinetic energy whenever he chooses, and it gives him a much needed increase in speed and raw power. This technique is useful and handy because all he has to do is just move his body parts in repetitive motions and he can charge up the energy. With 𝐏𝐫𝐵, he is able to utilize something similar to All Might's 100% usage of One for All, even though just for a short while. Using 𝐏𝐫𝐵 simultaneously with his other quirks makes for a devastating combo and ensures that Izuku is not one that you'll want to fight against. The final quirk unlocked by Deku is known as Gear Shift. It previously belonged to the second user of One for All. We do not know the name of the second user yet, but it seems like he was the leader of the resistance against All for One. He gives off the vibes of a ruthless leader, as he initially had plans to even kill Yoichi simply because he was related to All for One. Fortunately, he had a change of heart and even saved Yoichi in the process. Gear Shift has grown in strength astronomically since the time of the second user, and this can be seen when he advises Deku to only use it as a last resort. With Gear Shift, the laws of inertia no longer hold Deku, as he is able to increase the speed or decrease the speed of whatever he touches. He can use this technique on his opponents too, while punching them, thus making them fly at faster speeds. Izuku Midoriya is already exceptionally fast. However, Gear Shift gives him the ability to go beyond his limits and exceed his speed. Gear Shift also works in gears, like the name suggests, so he is able to switch from a lower gear to a higher one and vice versa. With a culmination of all these abilities, where do you think Izuku ranks in terms of strength among other shonen protagonists? And do you think he will be able to finally defeat All for One and fulfill the essence of One for All? Let us know in the comments section below.